I planned on doing this whole other video today, but then I was surprised this morning because Ableton released Ableton Note. I'm usually pretty up on these things, and this one kind of blindsided me. Maybe I wasn't paying attention last week, but yeah, Ableton released a iOS app called Note that is kind of like how the iOS version of GarageBand is sort of the younger sibling of GarageBand. This is an iOS app that is the younger sibling of Ableton. So this is not a tutorial video, and this is not a fully featured review of it. I've only really gotten the chance to mess around with it this morning, so consider this sort of more of a general first impressions and ease of use for someone that didn't look at any tutorials, didn't look at any videos, just dove right in and started messing around with it. Just getting this out of the way, overall I like it. If you are an Ableton user and if you have an iOS device, I think at $5.99 or whatever it is on the App Store, it's worth a purchase. You're not going to be finishing fully fleshed out tracks on this thing. It very much is a sketch pad. And if you view it in that context, I think that you're going to have a lot of fun and come up with some cool ideas for tracks that you might not have come up with while sitting at, your desk. So like I said, I didn't look at any tutorials or any videos on it. I saw 3 screenshots that were on the App Store and downloaded it, immediately jumped into it. If you've used Ableton for a while, you'll catch the gist of it very quickly. It's very much session view. You're graded with 8 scenes and 3 tracks, although you can add more tracks. I'm not sure how many you can go. I got up to 8 before I stopped. There's iconography at the top that lets you know which each one is. The drum rack very much looks like a drum rack. The bass kind of has the 2 lines. It's like bacon. It's like equals bacon. I don't know why that means bass, but it just does. But as you click on each one, you sort of figure out what's what. And then within each one of those, you can select your various sounds. Drum kits are very much the Ableton drum kits. The C78 is in there. Cage kit. What else is in here? Golden kit, loaded kit. It's all, Ableton stock sounds separated into acoustic, electric, and hybrid kits as well. Lots of pianos, synths, basses, plenty of synth leads are in here. Like there's a mod saw here. Per instrument, you have 2 FX racks that can be changed. You have everything from EQ, chorus, delay, flanger, redux, reverbs. It's sort of surprising the amount of stuff that they kind of crammed in here. You can also automate that stuff very easily, which was sort of surprising as well. There's a sampler built in as well, where you can record sounds off of your phone's mic. In the sampler section, there's a number of there's pre-recorded loops in here. Chords as well. Here's a G flat major 11 E piano with vinyl crackle in the background. Creating clips was fairly easy to figure out as well. There's simply a little tab here that says no clip. Click on that, set 1 to 8 bars, start inputting notes. So functionality wise, I think it's pretty well laid out. There were a number of times that sort of messing around with things like, how do I trigger one scene all at once? Is it this button? Oh, I hit this button, and sure enough, the scene numbers would come up on the side, and I could just hit that, and they would all play in a row. Additionally, every time I sort of dug into another menu, I was sort of surprised by what I would find there, though there is some digging to do, and I think that in your initial hours of it, you'll sort of do something, move on to another section, sort of forget how you got to that first section again. You'll have to sort of backtrack. That particularly happened to me a few times on the sample side, where I would load in a sampler, but I couldn't figure out how to get to the samples. It took a minute or two to figure out, but for some reason that repeatedly happened to me. I don't know why. So going back to ease of use, I don't see a way that you can actually sequence notes in. I think you have to actually do it all manually. And there's sort of an interesting way of going about it where you input notes through the clip, but you don't actually hear them until you commit to them, which is a little backwards and weird to me, but it just means you sort of end up toggling back and forth between the commit and undo button a bunch of times until you get what you wanted. That said, all the quantization features are there and some really cool little touches like nudging notes, which I was surprised to find as well. So chords are a bit on the tricky side. You guys might be better at that than I am inputting onto a phone. I've never really been good at that. The workaround that I used was I could usually get 2 notes off, and then on the second pass, I would just add the 5th or the 7th in. And that seemed to be doing the trick as far as chords are concerned. But it would be nice if there was a chord mode built in. You also have faders for each track, which, dare I say, is actually easier to read than Daddy Ableton's mixer channel. And then once you've got your whole track laid out, you can export everything either via audio or through Ableton Link, or I guess through their new Ableton Cloud service, which I haven't messed around with yet. I'm always a little wary of cloud services anyways, and will probably stick to either bouncing my tracks out or via Ableton Link. Port audio bounces out as either M4As or WAV files. What it looks like it does is it just takes 8 bars of one scene and then moves on to scene 2, and then moves on to scene 3, and then moves on to scene 4. So there's not any real arrangement that you can do in this other than how you would arrange in session mode. So overall, I think it's a pretty fun app. It's something that I can see myself using, say, if I'm stuck at the DMV or at an airport and I don't have access to my laptop. I don't think I would necessarily go in with specific ideas that I want to accomplish. It would be sort of more like experimenting and just sort of jamming around. And if I actually happen to stumble across something that I really liked, I could export it and take it back to the mothership to, refine it. One thing to note is that the latency on my Bluetooth AirPods were atrocious. I would basically call it impossible to make music with that level of latency. So if I am out and about and I'm trying to get this kick drum placed in just the right spot and I don't want to get murdered by everyone around me, I'll probably want to have my wired earbuds with me. As a version 1 release, I think it's really, really solid. There is room for improvement. Anytime you can sort of break out of your routine of your normal work area and create in a different environment, I think you're more apt to come up with new ideas, fresh perspectives. And that alone, I think, makes this app worth it. And I'm very curious and hopeful to see what Ableton releases in updates for this app. So yeah, that's it. I just kind of wanted to quickly break this out because I was, really excited by the fact that I woke up to a surprise. It's always nice when that happens, isn't it? So did you guys download Note as well? Please let me know in the comment below. And that's it. We'll be back soon with the video that I was planning on making today. So see ya.